Y'all remember when live streams used to be about the moment, not the ambush? Because what happened on that baby shower stream wasn't a slip. It wasn't a coincidence. Somebody knocked on that door at exactly the wrong minute, or exactly the right one, depending on whose calendar you're reading. And the mother of the child? Standing in the doorway holding a knife, mascara still wet, asking the only question that actually matters. Who told her to come? Blueface says he doesn't know. The chat had theories before the Ring cam finished buffering. And somewhere between the Miss Dior compliments and the I don't trust you whisper, a baby shower turned into a case study in how the internet weaponizes intimacy for a sub-goal. Stick with me on this one. I'm about to walk you through what everybody clipped and nobody actually watched. Hit that subscribe, tap the bell, and if you rock with the way we take these stories apart around here, you already know. Let's get into it. What actually happened, minus the drama edit? Jonathan Porter, Blueface, went live from the home he shares with Jaden Alexis, the mother of his first 2 children and, as of this pregnancy, his third. The stream started sweet. Compliments, perfume, a 360 spin. Jaden's baby shower was hours away. Somewhere between 25,000 and 44,000 viewers were watching in real time. According to the on-stream counter, Blueface himself kept quoting to push a sub-goal. Then a knock. Chrisean Rock, real name Chrisean Malone, appeared at the door. Jaden grabbed a knife. Blueface laughed. The stream did not end. It monetized. TMZ and the Shade Room both flagged the clip within hours, and the argument that followed in the car spilled every private grievance. These 3 have been trading in DMs, court filings, and comment sections for 2 years straight. Now watch this. The setup, for anybody who's been under a rock. Because I know some of y'all clicked this video cold. You saw a thumbnail, you saw a knife, you saw a baby bump, and you press play. So here's the 60-second orientation, no spin, just the cast sheet. Blueface is a rapper out of Los Angeles who broke nationally off, Thosiana, back in 2018, and then did something almost nobody in his lane does. He pivoted from music into being a full-time personality. The record slowed down. The stream sped up. By his own account across multiple interviews, the camera became the career. Jaden Alexis is his high school sweetheart, the mother of his first 2 kids, a streamer and artist in her own right who has been on and off with this man for the better part of a decade. Chrisean Rock is a reality TV alum. She came up through Blueface's own Blue Girls Club content house back in 2021, which was widely covered at the time, then became a cast fixture on the Zeus Network's Baddies franchise, and she shares a son with Blueface. 3 people, 2 households worth of history, 1 revolving front door. And if that sounds like a reality show premise, congratulations, you understand the assignment better than some of the people living it. Why this specific stream hit different? Here's the thing about the clip economy. Most Blueface Chrisean Jaden flare-ups die in 48 hours. They get clipped. They get a Shade Room post. The comments do their anti-council meeting. And the timeline moves on. This one didn't. This one kept climbing for days. And I think I know why. It's the setting. Beef clips are cheap. Betrayal clips are cheaper. But a baby shower is one of the last universally protected events in internet culture. Weddings, funerals, baby showers. There's a short list of days where even the messiest corners of the internet collectively agree you don't do it there. And somebody did it there. That violation is the engine, not the knife. Knives have been in Blueface orbit clips before. Not Chrisean showing up unannounced. That's practically a recurring segment at this point. The engine is that it happened on the one day that was supposed to belong to Jaden and nobody else. And the audience felt that in their chest. You could watch it in the comment velocity in real time. The chat wasn't laughing. The chat was testifying. Keep that emotional register in your back pocket. It matters later, when we talk about who profited off a moment that made 40,000 people feel secondhand humiliation. Receipts before analysis. Before I connect a single dot, let me lay the raw wording down. No spin yet. Just what was said, when, and by who. Jaden, standing at the threshold with the blade still in her hand, straight to camera. I don't trust you. You're sitting here laughing in my face. That's not a bar. That's not a soundbite. That's a woman telling her partner, in front of tens of thousands of strangers, that the person she should be able to lean on today is the one she's watching hardest. Beat Blueface moments earlier, defending why he'd been out all night. Sleep in the car. We was at 71. I was shooting dice with the homies. A man with, by his own repeated stream flex, real money, telling his pregnant fiancée he passed out in a homie's car outside a 7-Eleven. Take that at face value, or don't. Jaden's face already answered. Chrisean, per the audio captured after she was escorted off the porch, and, per hot new hip-hop, later referenced in her own live. She had a reason to be there. The reason kept mutating. Blueface asked her, on camera, if this was a gimmick. She said no. He said he didn't plan it. Nobody in the room believed either of them. Wild. Then Jaden, in the car, calm in the exact way that isn't calm at all. You came back just at this timing. For 31, and she feel comfortable enough to knock on this door. That's not jealousy talking. That's timestamp forensics. And the one that's been getting clipped the most, from Blueface himself, mid-argument, unprompted. The past matters much more to me than the present and the future. Read that twice. He said it out loud. On his own stream. To the woman carrying his third child. On the day of her first baby shower. Okay. I don't even need to editorialize that one. It sits by itself. The deposits nobody noticed. Now that the headline quotes are on the table, let me show you the smaller lines. The ones that didn't make thumbnails, but tell you more about the room than the screaming did. First, the gimmick exchange. Most recaps flattened this into Blueface asked if it was staged. She said no. Slow down. The fact that his first framework for an unannounced visit from the mother of his son is this a gimmick, tells you what the default setting of that house is. You don't ask that question in a home where surprise visits are about feelings. You ask it in a home where surprise visits have a production value. That's not me psychoanalyzing. That's just what the word choice reveals. When your reflex vocabulary is content vocabulary, the content has already won. Second, Jaden's delivery on the trust line. Go back and watch the cadence, not the words. She doesn't yell it. She doesn't perform it for the camera. She's angled at him, not the lens, and the camera just happens to catch her profile. That's an important distinction, because the bad faith read on this whole incident is she was performing for clips. Performers face the audience. She didn't. The one person in that doorway sequence who consistently played to the lens wasn't holding the knife. Third, and this one got almost zero pickup, the 431 precision. Normal people in emotional moments say, right when you got back. They round. They gesture at time. Jaden cited the minute. Down to the minute. That means she had already checked. She had already reconstructed the timeline in her head. Probably before the car ride even started. Because when you live inside a pattern you learn to document in real time. Anybody who's ever been in a relationship where you have to keep your own receipts recognizes that behavior instantly. It's not paranoia. It's record-keeping. And the fact that her record-keeping instincts are that calibrated tells you how many times she's had to use them. One more. Blueface, the past matters much more to me than the present and the future. I said I'd let it sit by itself. And it does. But notice when he said it. Not in a reflective moment. Not in a quiet two-person conversation. He deployed it as a rebuttal. Mid-argument, as a defense of his own behavior. He reached for a philosophy statement. That's a man who has pre-written his justifications. Improvised excuses sound like the 7-Eleven line. Sloppy, concrete, unconvincing. Rehearsed excuses sound like fortune cookies. He said that line like he'd said it before. Make of that what you will. Now the sequencing, because the order matters more than any single quote. Blueface didn't come home the night before. His own words, not mine. He rolls in the morning of Jaden's baby shower, hungover adjacent, dodging the where were you question with a dice game answer that even the chat wasn't buying. Jaden is already dressed. Nails done. She said Chrisean did them, allegedly, the night before, which is its own thread we'll pull in a second. Perfume on. Belly out. Camera rolling. Roughly 4:31 p.m. Per Jaden's on-stream reference, the knock lands. Hold on, back up. Because that detail is the part everyone's skipping. Chrisean didn't stumble onto that porch. She didn't happen to be in the neighborhood. Jaden's exact wording was that Chrisean Feel comfortable enough to knock on this door. Comfort implying invitation, implying prior contact, implying somebody on the inside of that house had communicated availability. Blueface swore it wasn't a setup. His track record on swearing things aren't setups is, not undefeated. XXL has been chronicling the Blueface, Chrisean, Jaden triangle since 2022, and every single flare-up has followed the same beat structure. Public affection with one, unannounced appearance by the other, camera conveniently already on. And here's the piece the tabloid recaps glossed over. Jaden, earlier in the same stream, said the person who came through last night to do her nails and lashes was, by her own laughing admission in the car, Chrisean, which means Chrisean was allegedly at that house within the last 24 hours, as a guest, doing beauty prep for the baby shower of her ex-partner's current fiancé. Read that again. I had to. So the door knock isn't a cold ambush. It's the second visit in a 24-hour window, which changes what "I didn't plan this" actually has to mean for it to be true. Because if Chrisean was there Friday night and back Saturday afternoon, the question isn't did Blueface invite her. The question is why did anyone think the second visit would land differently than the first? That's the part. The deeper timeline, because this didn't start at 4:31. Now let's zoom out, because the 24-hour weave is only the innermost ring. This pattern has rings. Go back to 2021. Blue Girls Club, Blueface Content House Experiment, widely covered at the time, is where Chrisean enters the frame professionally before she ever entered it romantically. That's important. The relationship between these two was, from day one, a broadcast product. There was never a private version of Blueface and Chrisean. The public version is the original. Most couples have a relationship that later gets exposed. These two had exposure that later became a relationship. That inversion explains almost everything that follows, because you cannot go back to private when private never existed. Then 2022 through 2023, the Zeus Network era. Chrisean becomes a centerpiece of baddies. The two of them get their own Zeus vehicle, Crazy in Love, and the volatility that used to be a liability becomes, quite literally, a format. Fights, reconciliations, arrests, reunions, all of it packaged, all of it monetized, all of it teaching everyone involved the same lesson. Chaos pays, calm doesn't. I'm not speculating on motive here. I'm describing the documented output of those years. TMZ has obtained and published fight footage from this orbit more than once. Complex has covered the legal escalations. The receipts aren't hidden. They're just scattered across 3 years of news cycles, and nobody lays them end to end. And here's what the end-to-end view shows you. The escalations cluster. They're not random. They bunch around releases, around announcements, around moments when one member of the triangle is getting independent attention. Jaden's Barbie moment, her music pushes, her milestones, and then, like clockwork, a triangle event absorbs the timeline. I've seen people call that a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. It's simpler and sadder than that. When attention is the family's income, attention becomes the family's reflex. You don't need a group chat planning it. You just need 3 people who have all been paid, at some point, for the same scene. Which brings us back to the nails. Pull the nail thread all the way. Because the nails detail isn't just a quirky footnote. It's the keystone of the whole comfort question. If Jaden's account from the stream is accurate, and she said it on camera, laughing in the car, with no apparent awareness of how it would land, then Chrisean was inside that home the night before the shower, performing an act of intimacy and service. Nails and lashes. That's not dropping off a package. That's sitting with someone, touching their hands, being in their space for an hour plus. So now the porch knock at 4:31 the next afternoon exists in a completely different universe. Then, obsessed ex shows up uninvited. In the recut version, the first visit was friendly. The second visit was not. Something changed between Friday night and Saturday afternoon. And whatever changed is the actual story of this incident. And it's the one piece of the timeline that happened off camera. Sit with that. The one chapter of this saga that matters most is the one nobody streamed. The gap between visit 1 and visit 2. A conversation, a text, a phone call, a perceived slight, a business dispute. Something converted a guest into a doorstep confrontation in under a day. And every person who knows what it was has a financial incentive to never say it plainly. Blueface's public position, per his own stream, is that he doesn't know why she came. Jaden's position, stated on that same stream, is that somebody communicated comfort. Chrisean's position, per her own subsequent live referenced by Hot New Hip Hop, is that she had a reason she never stabilized into a single sentence. 3 accounts, 0 overlap. And the only thing all 3 agree on is that the camera happened to be rolling when it all converged. Funny how that keeps working out. One more timeline ghost worth naming. And since we're weaving, there's a legal clock running underneath this whole domestic timeline that most recap channels ignored completely. Chrisean's legal situation over this same stretch of years has been genuinely heavy. Complex reported on her being taken into custody after arriving at an LA courthouse with her baby on a felony fugitive warrant. All Hip Hop reported a $250,000 default judgment against her after she didn't appear to defend an assault claim from a former stylist. Court dates, warrants, judgments, those aren't content. Those don't get scheduled for engagement. They just sit on a person's record and quietly raise the stakes of every public scene they appear in. Why does that matter for a baby shower stream? Because context compounds. When a person with active legal exposure shows up in a viral clip at someone's door, the clip isn't just gossip fuel. It's evidence-adjacent material that lives forever and gets read by people who aren't fans. Lawyers watch timelines too. Keep that in the back of your mind for the predictions section, because the legal thread and the content thread are on a collision course, whether anyone in that house wants it or not. 3 details worth zooming on. Not the whole scene. Just the frames people scrolled past. The sub-goal. Watch the stream back with the counter visible. Every time the argument cooled, Blueface pushed the sub-goal. Every time it heated up, viewership spiked, and he mentioned commercial break. At one point mid-confrontation, he literally says, and I'm quoting the transcript, "If you pay, you can stay." That's not a man who lost control of his stream. That's a man reading a dashboard while his fiancée cries. Whether he engineered the knock or not is almost a secondary question. The monetization instinct in that moment tells you everything about which relationship he was actually protecting. The one on camera, or the one with the audience. The knife. Jaden picked it up, never swung it, held it, per her own words, because she was pregnant and couldn't physically defend herself otherwise. She said on stream, "I will defend myself by stabbing." Then she cried. Then she asked for the camera off. Then she got denied. In most states, and California, where they're based, is one of them. A pregnant woman holding a kitchen knife inside her own home while an uninvited party stands on her porch is not the person with legal exposure. But she'd be the one clipped as unhinged for the next 72 hours. And she knew it. That's why she asked for the camera off before she asked for the knock to stop. The hush mode clause. Deep in the car ride, Blueface tells Jaden she'll be in hush mode soon. She fires back that she doesn't earn quiet the way he's implying. It's an ugly beat. It's also a tell. Because hush mode isn't a couple's phrase. It's an industry phrase. It's how managers describe the window after a viral incident when the artist goes dark on socials, cancels press, and lets the algorithm move on. He wasn't threatening her emotionally in that moment. He was previewing the PR playbook. Watch what her socials do this week, and tell me I'm wrong. The frame itself. The original script gave you 3 frames. I'm adding a 4th, and it's the most boring one, which is exactly why it matters. The stream architecture. Understand how these live streams actually work mechanically. On platforms like Kick and Twitch, and this household streams on both. As has been widely documented, the broadcaster sees a live dashboard, viewer count, sub count, tip alerts, chat velocity. That dashboard updates in real time, and every experienced streamer develops what's basically a reflex. When the number moves, you feed whatever moved it. This is not a Blueface-specific observation. This is the documented psychology of the entire live streaming industry. The number goes up. The behavior that raised the number gets reinforced. It's operant conditioning with a tip jar. Now apply that reflex to the porch sequence. The knock lands. The counter jumps. Chat velocity goes vertical. And at no point in the next stretch does the broadcast end. Think about how easy it is to end a stream. It's one button. Streamers end streams for bad Wi-Fi. This man did not end the stream while his pregnant fiancée stood in his doorway, holding a kitchen knife. The button was right there the whole time, and the counter was right there next to it, and only one of those two things got his attention. I want to be careful and fair here. Staying live is not proof of staging. Plenty of people freeze. Plenty of streamers have genuinely lost control of a broadcast and let chaos air because they didn't know what else to do. The tell isn't that he stayed live. The tell is the behavior while live, the sub-goal pushes, the commercial break language, the pay-to-stay line. Freeze responses are silent. This was narrated. There's a difference between a man caught in a moment and a man hosting one. The camera denial. Stay on frame 2's aftermath for a second, because she asked for the camera off and got denied. Beat deserves its own autopsy. In the entire grammar of streaming, turn it off is the emergency phrase. Every streaming household, and I mean every single one, from family vloggers to IRL couples to gaming duos, has some version of this rule, usually stated publicly, often joked about. When someone says cut, you cut. It's the last safety rail on a format with no producer, no delay, and no standards department. And in this stream, the rail got tested by the most vulnerable person in the room, at her most vulnerable moment, in front of a live audience in the tens of thousands. And the stream stayed up. Now, precision matters. So let me be precise about what we know versus what we infer. What we know, she asked on camera, and the broadcast continued. What we infer. Who made that call and why? I wasn't in the room. Neither were you. But the transcript is the transcript, and the transcript shows the request and the continuation. Somebody kept that camera hot, and it wasn't the woman crying. And here's the retention hook I'll pay off before the video ends. Remember that the counter crossed 40K line from earlier in my read? Keep both numbers in your head. The sub-goal he kept pushing, and the peak the counter actually hit. Because the gap between those two numbers is the punchline of this whole story, and it's uglier than the knife. The porch is a stage. One more forensic angle, and then I'll move on. The geography. Notice where the confrontation happened. Not inside. Not in a car. On the porch, in the doorway. The single most camera-friendly location in any Ring camera home. Doorbell cameras, wide angle, full body framing, natural backlight. I'm not saying anyone chose the porch for its production value. I'm saying the porch is where doorstep drama happens, because that's where doors are. And the modern front door is now a broadcast studio, whether the people standing in it like it or not. The Ring cam generation didn't just change home security. It changed where domestic conflict gets archived. Every porch in America is a potential soundstage, and this household, more than most, knows exactly what a porch clip is worth. Here's where it gets interesting, because the outlets didn't cover this the same way at all. TMZ went with the knife. Headline energy, thumbnail energy. Pregnant woman brandishes weapon energy. Framing choice. Jaden as the volatile one, Blueface as the bystander, Chrisean as the wild card. Clean tabloid math. Sells clicks. Ignores the timestamp. The shade room went with the betrayal. Comment section framing. Not on her baby shower day energy. The collective anti-eye roll. Jaden as the wronged woman. Blueface as the villain. Chrisean as the accomplice. That framing sells engagement, and it also happens to be closer to what the timeline actually supports. Hot New Hip Hop split the difference, treated it as a Blueface content farm operation, called the whole household a reality TV set without the network. Which, honestly, is the most accurate read of the three, because it names the actual product. Not a relationship, not a beef, but a subscription funnel with people in it. Now, the counter-argument I keep seeing in the replies goes like this. Jaden knew what she signed up for. She's been with Blueface for years. She's on the streams voluntarily. She profits off the drama. And look, I'll steelman it for one beat. Yes, she's a co-participant in the brand. Yes, she live streams. Yes, she's monetized this dynamic before. But signing up to be on camera isn't signing up to have your ex-rival hand delivered to your front door on the afternoon of your baby's shower. There's a difference between being part of the show and being the surprise guest on it. Call back to that 4:31 timestamp. She didn't know that knock was coming. Her face when the door opened told on the whole operation. You can be a willing performer and still be a victim of a specific segment. Those two things coexist. Alright, now let me tell you what I actually think is going on here. There's a tier of coverage above these three outlets that almost never gets named, and it's the one that actually sets the narrative. The aggregator clippers, the Instagram pages, the TikTok recap accounts, the YouTube. They're saying SHE pulled up channels with the red arrows and the shock face thumbnails. These accounts don't report anything. They don't add sourcing. They don't add context. They don't even add commentary half the time. They take the 9 most explosive seconds, crop them vertical, add a caption written like a question, not the baby shower, and push it to an audience 10 times bigger than the original streams. And here's why that matters for how this story got understood. The clip layer strips time. The 431 detail, the nails detail, the second visit detail. None of that fits in 9 seconds. What fits in 9 seconds is a pregnant woman holding a knife. So for the biggest audience this incident ever reached, the entire story was unhinged pregnant girlfriend threatens visitor. The clip layer didn't just compress the story. It inverted it. It turned the person with the least power in that doorway into the villain of the vertical edit. That's not an accident of the format, by the way. That's the format working as designed. Rage bait outperforms nuance on every metric these pages get paid on. And a pregnant knife holder with no context is a perfect rage bait object. The fuller timeline, the one you're getting in this video, is the version that doesn't travel. Keep that in mind every time you see this clip surface, without the timestamp attached. The missing context isn't lost. It's edited out, because context is the enemy of the share. The counter-argument, taken seriously for one more lap. I gave the she knew what she signed up for, take a Steelman earlier. Let me give it one more honest lap, because it deserves it, and because the truth sits one level deeper than both versions of the argument. The strongest version of the counter goes like this. Jaden Alexis is not a hostage. She's a businesswoman with her own streaming presence, her own music career, her own audience, and a decade-long understanding of exactly how Blueface operates. She has left and returned. She has monetized the dynamic. At some point, continued participation is a choice, and choices come with the foreseeable consequence that the triangle keeps triangling. I don't actually disagree with any of that. Where I get off the bus is the conclusion people attach to it. That foreseeing the pattern forfeits your right to be hurt by a specific instance of it. That's not how any other domain of life works. A boxer consents to the sport and can still be fouled. An actor consents to the set and can still be ambushed by a scene that wasn't in the script. Consent to an environment is not consent to every event inside it. And the baby shower knock, if Jaden's own account is accurate, and her face as it is, was not in the script she agreed to. And one more layer, then I'll drop it. Even in the fullest Steelman, even if you believe she knew the knock was possible, knew the camera would stay on, knew the clips would travel, none of that explains the denial of the camera off request. Willing participants retain the right to call cut. That's the line. She said the line out loud. The stream rolled anyway. Whatever contract you think she signed, I'm pretty confident you may never ask for privacy again wasn't in it. The read nobody's putting in print. The mainstream take is that this was a love triangle gone sideways. 2 women, 1 man, 1 bad day. That's the People magazine version. It's clean. It's wrong. Here's what I keep circling back to. This wasn't a love triangle. This was a content stack. Blueface has spent the last 3 years building a live stream ecosystem where the emotional volatility between Jaden and Chrisean is the product. Not adjacent to the product. Not a byproduct. The product itself. The subs, the tips, the sub goals he kept pushing mid-argument. The if you pay, you can stay line. That's not a man in crisis. That's a man reading the P&L in real time. And the moment the algorithm rewards a specific kind of chaos, the incentive structure guarantees that chaos will keep getting manufactured. Not because anyone woke up evil, because the numbers respond to it. Look at the pattern across 2 years. Every time Jaden hits a personal milestone, engagement, pregnancy announcement, music release, a Chrisean incident materializes within a 2-week window. Every single time. Not once. Not twice. The pattern. Court filings around Chrisean's custody situation with Chrisean Jr., per public docket entries, reported by All Hip Hop, have repeatedly coincided with Blueface stream spikes. Carlisa, Chrisean's mother, has spoken publicly about the cycle. Whack 100 has, on multiple podcast appearances, described the household economics in terms that sound less like management and more like a showrunner breaking a season. And here's the part that lingers. The person who paid for this particular episode of the show wasn't Blueface. It wasn't Chrisean. It was Jaden. In the currency that matters, which isn't dollars, it's the memory of her first baby shower. She doesn't get that day back. Her son doesn't get to look at those photos in 15 years without the knife at the door footage, sitting in the same search results. That's the cost. And the cost was extracted for a sub-goal that, per Blueface's own on-stream complaint, the chat didn't even hit. She paid full price. He didn't clear the ask. Chrisean got clipped for a week of engagement. Nobody won that stream. And that's what makes me think it wasn't designed to be won. It was designed to be watched. The winning was already banked the second the counter crossed 40K. If that reads cynical, sit with it for a second. Then ask yourself why a household with 2 toddlers, a pregnancy, and allegedly 7-figure stream revenue keeps producing this exact scene on this exact schedule. Coincidences don't keep appointments. Business models do. The economics in plain language. Let me make the content stack idea concrete, because it's a business, gets said a lot, and explained almost never. A traditional celebrity has a product, music, film, sports, and the drama is a tax on that product. The drama costs them endorsements, roles, goodwill. They pay PR firms to reduce the drama. Blueface household inverts that completely, and the inversion is the entire story of a second act. When the drama is the product, every PR instinct runs backwards. You don't suppress the incident, you extend it. You don't issue one statement, you issue 7 days of counterstatements. You don't reconcile privately. You reconcile on camera, because the reconciliation is inventory too. Watch the post-incident cadence of this household across the last 2 years, and tell me it doesn't look like a release schedule. Because it is one. And the management layer deserves a harder look than it usually gets. Whack 100's arrangement with Blueface has been discussed openly on podcasts for years. Commentators, including academics on his own platforms, have claimed the structure effectively stacks label economics and management economics on top of each other. I'm not auditing anybody's contracts. I'm noting that the people around this artist are compensated in proportion to his output of attention, not his output of art. When your manager's upside is tied to your visibility, and your visibility is tied to your volatility, the adult supervision in the room has a financial reason to enjoy the chaos. That's not an accusation. That's just reading the incentive structure out loud and letting it make you uncomfortable on its own. The family layer, the voices outside the door. And since we're on the people around the people, the extended family of the saga has been louder and more consistent than the principals, and nobody stitches those voices together. Blueface's mother, Carlisa Saffold, has been a one-woman commentary desk on this triangle for years. She's used her platforms to criticize the relationship cycles, to defend her son, to attack the very dynamics he profits from, sometimes in the same week. Complex covered her claiming at one point that Blueface and Chrisean were related, a claim that went nowhere but ate a full news cycle, because in this ecosystem even the rebuttals are content. And Chrisean's own public statements about that family have been raw in a way that doesn't read like script. She said on Instagram that the treatment from Blueface and his mother made her wish things about her son's existence that I won't repeat here, because they're the kind of words that should never be engagement bait. When the family members start sounding like the most honest people in the story has stopped being entertainment. It just hasn't stopped being monetized. That's the piece the love triangle framing can't hold. Love triangles have 3 people in them. This thing has a dozen managers, mothers, platforms, clip pages, chat, and every single one of them eats when the triangle burns. The 3 people in the doorway are the only ones who pay. Paying off the number I told you to hold. Earlier I told you to keep 2 numbers, the sub-goal he pushed, and the peak the counter hit. Here it is. Per Blueface's own on-stream complaint, the chat didn't hit the sub-goal. The counter, by the figures he quoted during the broadcast, peaked north of 40,000 concurrent viewers. Now, the economics of that gap. 40,000 concurrents on a live stream is Super Bowl ad money in attention terms. The clips generated from that stream ran for days across TMZ. shade room, and the entire aggregator layer, which means the incident's total reach was in the millions comfortably. And the direct ask, the thing he literally interrupted a domestic crisis to push, failed. So what was actually sold that day? Not subs. The sub goal was the prop. What was sold was the clip rights to A Woman's Worst Afternoon, distributed free to every page on the internet, with the revenue arriving later as platform payouts, returning viewers, and a refreshed cycle of interest in all three participants. The baby shower incident wasn't a monetization failure. It was a monetization delay. And the delay is the model. Plant the chaos now. Harvest the attention for weeks. The sub-goal was never the point. The counter was the point. And the counter did its job. Cynical? Yeah. Now you tell me which part is wrong. Where this goes next. The path most likely to land is the quietest one. Watch how Jaden's socials go dark for roughly 10 to 14 days. Not because she's in hiding. Because the hush mode, playbook Blueface previewed on camera is real. And it's how this camp resets after a viral spill. Expect a soft launch return, a baby photo, a caption with no context, comments off. The reconciliation will not be announced. It will be implied. And the same viewers who clip the knife footage will clip the reunion post. And the cycle funds itself again. The path that flips the table runs through Carlisa. Chrisean's mother has been the most consistent public voice pushing her daughter to exit this orbit. And if the porch incident produced any private conversation between mother and daughter that leaked, a phone call, a text screenshot, a live moment, Chrisean's participation in the next episode becomes a lot harder to book. Don't be shocked when a Carlisa clip surfaces in the next couple weeks, reframing this incident from the outside. That's the pivot that could actually crack the model. Because the model needs Chrisean to keep showing up. If she stops, the format collapses. The aftershock 5 years out is the one we're thinking about seriously. Because Chrisean Jr. is going to be old enough to Google his own name inside a decade, and the superior son of Nevaeh Chrisean, a whole other branch of this family tree the internet has been ignoring, will be reading the same archives. The residue from this specific stream isn't going to hit until those kids hit middle school and their classmates find the clips. That's the actual damage, not the argument, the permanence of the argument. And that's a bill nobody in that car ride is paying yet, because it comes due later, in a currency none of them are budgeting for. Once the bill lands, no sub-goal covers it. The second-order predictions. 3 more forecasts, smaller than those, but each one testable, and I'll own every one of these if they miss. First, watch the custody and legal lane. Chrisean's legal docket over the past couple years, the courthouse arrest complex reported, the default judgment all hip-hop documented, the ongoing public dispute over her son's name and legal recognition that she herself has raised on her platforms, means every viral incident now has a parallel life in front of people who wear robes. Porch footage doesn't stay on Instagram. It becomes an exhibit. I'm not predicting any specific filing. I'm predicting that the gap between content and evidence keeps narrowing for everyone in this orbit, and the first person in the triangle to hire a lawyer who thinks like an archivist changes the whole game. Second, watch the platform, not just the people. This household streaming home has shifted between platforms over time, and every move follows the same logic. Go where the moderation is loosest and the rev share is fattest. If a porch-level incident ever lands on a platform during one of its periodic advertiser panics, you could see the first real external constraint on the model. Not morality. Not family intervention. Terms of service. The only thing that has ever reliably ended streamer chaos economies is the money tap tightening, and that's a platform decision, not a personal one. Third, and this is the one I'd put actual money on, watch for the counter-narrative drop. Every incident in this saga eventually produces the my side content, the tell-all live, the interview, the documentary-style sit-down. Jaden has never fully cashed that chip. She's done responses, she's done streams, but the full, unbroken first-person account of a decade inside this machine has never been delivered. If the hush mode window breaks that pattern, if the silence ends with a statement instead of a soft launch, that'll be the tell that something structural actually shifted this time. Silence is the cycle. Speech is the break. We'll know which one we're looking at within the month. The last thing about us. And since we're forecasting, one honest word about the audience, which means us, me included. Because I'm narrating this and you're watching it and the counter is counting us both. Every cycle in this saga ends with the same post-mortem in the comments. Why do y'all keep giving them attention? And every cycle begins with 40,000 concurrents anyway. The audience isn't hypocritical. The audience is pooled. The people who clip it. The people who hate watch it. The people who pray over it in the comments. The people who make videos dissecting it. We are all the same number on his dashboard. There's no disapproving way to watch. The counter doesn't read intent. It just counts. I'm not going to pretend this video exists outside that machine. It doesn't. But there's a difference between feeding the machine blind and feeding it with your eyes open. And the entire point of the last however many minutes was to hand you the full timeline. The 431. The nails. The second visit. The camera that wouldn't cut. The sub-goal that failed while the counter succeeded. So that the next time the 9-second version of a moment like this crosses your feed, you know what's been cropped out and who's holding the scissors. The show only works if you believe it's spontaneous. Now you know better. Watch accordingly. That's the read. That's the whole read. If you've been watching the saga unfold, and you want the version of it that isn't shaped by whoever's paying for the thumbnail this week, subscribe, hit the bell, and drop your take in the comments. I want the receipts I missed, the angles I didn't chase, the frame I scrolled past. Fight me on it if you disagree. We'll run it back on the next one.